Coming to you live from my apartment, it's Rob Has a Podcast. And now here's the guy who's your number one source of Survivor information. I am Rob Cesternino. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Feedback Show this week, episode number 4. And boy, have we got a fun one for you because we are so fortunate to have back with us a woman who has opinions about Survivor that are never mid, of course. You can hear her talking about the challenge every week when the various seasons of the challenge are on with Brian Cohen. Please welcome back the great Ali Lasher. Ali, how are you?
Rob, look, before we get started here, I'm really tired. It's pretty early in the morning. I would really prefer we talk about everything later this afternoon, if that's okay with you.
You want to table this and come back?
If we could just table all of the important things that we have to discuss. Just now is not a great time for me.
Okay. All right.
So bye.
Bye. All right. All right. All right. It's hours later. We're back now.
And I am declining to speak first. I keep harping on the Daniel story of this all because of all of this. Oh God, we're off to a rough start because it just, that to me is like something I'm still thinking about. I was still thinking about it at the end of last week. I'm still thinking about it at the end of this week. I just botch after botch after botch.
I had really been looking forward to hearing what you had to say about this because I felt like that I had just sort of like intuited you must have a lot to say about how this all went down with Daniel and everything from last week into this week's Tribal Council or this week's episode.
Yeah, and Stevie Two Lives is pretty. That's what I'm going to call Steven Fishback now. The Two Library drop is pretty sympathetic to Daniel, which I think is good. Like, I think it's nice to have somebody like level setting the conversation and saying like, look, you know, it's your first Tribal Council or it's like the craziest one in history and people don't have votes, and so it's like nice that he's sympathetic to his journey. I am not so sympathetic to that journey as a viewer who's never been on the show, has no interest in being on the show. It was insane. It was an insane approach. He needs to go to the Michael Scott school of like, I am declining to speak first. I get that maybe in his legal background, it's like he wants to be setting the stage and controlling the conversation. But I think as you and Steven discussed on Know It Alls, like, that's the last position you want to be in. Hai was able to dig his heels in because he saw that Daniel showed all of his cards right away. And so then he was able to win out on the negotiation. So I just thought it was a huge botch last week, arguably a bigger botch this week, returning to camp with that energy.
Yeah, this was very interesting where after everything had gone down at last week's episode and we really tried to figure out like where things were going to go after that, you know, he once again, you know, sort of like speaks first of like says just, you know, hey, just so everybody has like, I don't want to talk about this today, which I feel like that you want to get out in front, right?
Yeah, to me, Lydia's in a position to come back and say, I just almost got voted out of the game. I'd rather not talk about this today. When you've done wrong, you don't then get to say, and I don't want to discuss it. I hope Akiva is listening to this. Like, you can't then say, I would like you guys to sit in how I betrayed all of you and I'm going to go to bed and like rest easy. It also like projects kind of shadiness. Like, I need to get some rest and get my story straight before I talk to you tomorrow, as opposed to Hai, who takes the approach of like telling enough of a true story to Mike, that that like the parts where it's like not so true is more like palatable and less detectable because he's like having the conversation right away. I don't need an hour to gather my thoughts and get my story together. I can just like tell you right now what happened. And I think that's huge.
What Hai did, which I was actually really impressed by when I went back and I was looking at the episode to get ready for this podcast, that Hai is the one actually who says, Mike, hey, you know, I owe you an explanation about what goes on. Of all the people, Hai, who could have come back and been like, aha, he's like going to Mike and saying like, hey, Mike, let me like sort of explain to you what happened. And he does it to the great benefit of that he picks up Mike as an ally to work with him and Lydia.
Here's what I can't tell. Does Daniel really believe that he was betrayed by Chanel? Because I feel like we're not getting the confessional I need from Daniel, which is like, oops, but like, let me keep trying to shift this to Chanel. That's like all I have.
So I
Or
can
does he
answer
not
that.
believe it? Okay.
So that there's a secret scene where,
I always get jabbed by the secret scenes.
it's not an amazing scene, but it's Daniel and Chanel. And Daniel is pulling Chanel aside and says, hey, like, what, like, you told me, you told me to do the thing. Like, did you not? And she's like, well, I don't really want to, like, why should I have to say that? He's like, but what name? You told me Lydia at Tribal Council, right? Could you just admit that to me that you told me? And she finally she says, yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, I told you to say Lydia, but I don't want you to, I'm not going to tell that to everybody else.
But how is that, like, again, what Chanel's, which after this episode, I feel like Chanel is the most well-rounded player on the season and maybe even in a long time in terms of strategic, social, physical. But we could talk about that later. But like, what is the betrayal about that? Like, you got together with your closest ally and she had a view of who to vote out. And so you agreed and you guys voted together, like, or half of you voted. What is the betrayal? The betrayal is that Chanel lost her vote, which is insane.
Well, I think the betrayal from Daniel's perspective,
I'm getting high. I need to relax.
Yes, is that he is the one who is floundering now. The one who people are looking at as the person who is like the untrustworthy person who really like seemed to flip flop. And she could throw him a life preserver if she wanted to and sort of like, be in the spotlight with him. And I think she is declining that opportunity.
But what's the incentive to do that? Like, what would be the advantage if she's like, yeah, I agree, we should be voting Lydia? Obviously, that's true, right? Daniel voted Lydia. They're a tight pair. Daniel was with Mike and Jenny. That's apparent from the vote. What is being, he just wants to bring her down with him, which is insane. Like, what, they'd both be in trouble. It would not absolve him. He's just like, all the blame's on me and nobody's even mad at Chanel. Okay, for your ego, that makes sense. But for your game, why do you care?
And I wonder if it would be a different story if Mike had a vote. If there would be a play, if like, and let's say Mike activates the idol, like, would that be in play to sort of like, okay, let's get the band back together. Hey, Mike, like, look, they wanted to vote out Jenny. They were coming after you. We were with you the whole time. But because Mike doesn't have a vote, it's like now all roads lead back to Hai and Lydia, who are the tight two.
I mean, the theme of the season, it's what you guys said in the note-alls this week, is like, it's much easier for you to trust your enemies than it is to trust your friend who betrays you. And that's happening here. And that happens later on Ica. So it's really, really fascinating that Mike now is going to trust Hai, who actively made a move against him. Than Daniel, who didn't want to go to Rocks, frankly. And that's the only reason that Daniel made a move against him, is up against a wall. And yet, as Hai says, Daniel has no backbone, and Mike doesn't respect that at all. Daniel's bones have the worst edit of the whole season, the poor guy. But it's like, I'm sorry, when Hai said that, I fell out of my chair. But it's like, I almost don't know. Do you think that translates to real life? I mean, I know you guys did the sort of laws of Survivor. And
I wish we could have a do-over on that. I feel like that we would have much better examples to do that.
Let's do it.
That was even pre TEOS that we did the 40. We do 49 laws of Survivor.
49,
but is it better to trust your enemy than your friend who betrayed you?
Like, do you think that is true in life? Not that we need to get into like life philosophy, or that's sort of a paranoia thing on Survivor, that trust is so critical that you're not able to like step outside of yourself and be like, wait, Tori actively made a move against me, so let me not look at Swabi.
So it's a very good question, and I'd like to get your opinion on it also. But I think what happens is that I think it's probably still better to trust your friend who betrayed you. And I just think that it hurts a lot more to have if your friend betrayed you as opposed to like your enemy betraying you. Of course they did it. That's just what they always do. They were my enemy. But when the betrayal comes from somebody close, that it's like, I have to take them out now. and maybe it's like a hasty thing to do. And I've been sort of like evolving my thoughts on the vote from when we got to Wednesday night, where I felt like that it was the right decision to take out Swathi over Tori. And I think I've kind of come around to like, no, you probably should have still voted out Tori, because that Tori is definitely flipping on these people when they get to the merge. And Swathi, she was double dealing. They didn't see it coming. And they had like, aha, it was you, Swathi. All right, now you have to go, Swathi. This weekend, but like, where was Swathi going? Was Swathi going to flip on Romeo, Andrea, and Roxroy when she got to the merge? Probably not as likely as Tori.
Yeah, it blows my mind that Tori has now twice escaped a vote where she should have been going home. And I think a lot of that is to her credit this episode, just in the moment of when Romeo brings her the information that she's been caught, she immediately throws Swathi under the bus without thinking. And that was a great move, I think, from Tori. She immediately had a justification for what her actions were. And then obviously Drea and Romeo like led the drive there. But I thought that was really impressive from Tori. But even on the Zach vote, Tori got caught. Like what happened, right? She goes away and she hears Drea starts saying like, oh, it's suspect that Tori's looking for an idol. Zach brings her that information. That gets back to Drea. At that point, when Drea knows that her and Tori have a reason to be looking at each other, get her out. That's the cancer. It's not Zach who told her. It's the person who has a reason to want to vote you out. And so then the same thing happens where Tori's caught red-handed. Maybe it's true if you believe Tori that Swathi was double dipping, double dealing, and scheming against you. But the only thing you know for sure is that Tori acted on it with Roxroy. Every single person on this 5-person tribe is having a million different conversations. Tori actively tried to set a plan in motion. Why are you going back to the source of the plan rather than the person who did the action? I do not understand that at all. And I think, to say 5,000 words without taking a breath here, I think if my brain broke, never mind. I'll come back to me.
What a tease. So do you feel like that the right call was to vote out Tori?
Would have been Tori. Oh, this is what I was going to say, is like the things that bind you to your friend are still there. Whatever brought you guys together is still there after you have a bump in the road. The things that put you against your enemies are also still there. And I do think that when you're looking to go into a merge later, and you're going to need, especially with the tribes being so even, you're going to need people who just fundamentally bond with you. And it seemed like Swathi and Drea and Romeo and Roxroy had that way more than Tori has that with any of them. So why work with your enemy in that situation? Makes no sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm on the show.
Okay. And what about for life? Should this be taken out of the 48 laws of power?
No, if you betray me in life, you're gone.
You're gone. You're gone. And then you'll work with an enemy sooner than a friend who betrayed you.
Well, I only have enemies, so it kind of makes this difficult when applying it to my real life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have to defer to you on someone with friends.
You're barking up the wrong tree if you're coming to me as the resource, the person with friends.
Yeah, well, we'll have to bring somebody else in who's on next week. I'm sure a much friendlier person.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Ali, all right. So you came in red hot talking about breaking down everything from the last couple of tribal councils. We've had a great week on the podcast. Of course, you mentioned Survivor Know-It-Alls. We had talked to Swathi the other day also, who I thought, really did like own up to the issues that were going on in her game. Had a great interview with Xander.
Yeah, that's actually, I'm glad you mentioned Xander, because I liked what Xander said about COVID. And I think that is something like we often forget. I feel like when I watch Survivor with new viewers, welcome new viewers. I feel like a lot, the pandemic has brought.
If you're just joining us, this is Ali Lasher.
Don't worry about me. You'll never see me again.
She makes the cakes. Yeah.
But I always remind people, like, they're starving. And that's maybe featured more this season in newer seasons. Like, we didn't give them rice. Like, here are these dinky fish that are actually giant fish. But they're starving, and it's hard to make good strategic decisions when you're starving. I'm glad that Xander reminded us that this was filmed right after COVID. I mean, we're still in COVID, FYI, but like right after strict quarantine. And, you know, I'm watching people at work events struggle to like socialize. I'm struggling to socialize after the pandemic, and at least I got to do like podcasting throughout. It added a new lens to how I watch this interaction with Daniel and with the whole Ica tribe. Is just like, it's really hard to remember how to talk to people after pandemic, and they're starving and they're on Survivor, yada yada yada. But it's an important thing to, I think about when viewing the show now.
Yeah. Do you think it's harder in any way or easier for the season 41 cast versus the season 42 cast? Like, do you think that it's more of a thing for either of these two casts?
That's interesting.
One's filmed in like, I believe that they filmed in like late March 2021, and the other one is 6 weeks later.
Yeah, I guess in theory, right, 6 weeks later is easier, but I mean, I think now, what are we in? What month is it? April 2022?
Yeah.
I still think it's hard. People are still like getting back out there and like adjusting. So I'm mildly sympathetic, majorly sympathetic.
Okay. Ali, let's bring in a question. Of course, this is the feedback show. You can send in your questions, robswebsite.com/voicemail every week, or send in your questions at any time, robswebsite.com/S42 questions. Also, one more podcast from me on the way. Matt Scott is going to join us on the Survivor Academy, where we will take a look at what we learned this week for future Survivor players. That's for the patrons of Rob as a podcast. Check that out, robswebsite.com/patron. All right, here is Tom has a question for you about Swathi, and if there's anything that Swathi could have done to get out of the bullseye.
Hey, Rob and Allie, it's Tom Fratz calling. I'm wondering about the vote tonight. Do you think if Swathi had just told them that she was good, they would have voted out Tori instead? Isn't that all you have to do? Say you're a member of the good team and they keep you? Thanks so much.
Okay. So
Frats.
Yeah. Okay. Is this a reference?
This is a Mafia reference.
Yes. Yes.
From Frats. You know, it's so funny because I got nostalgic and I went back to the first email you sent me to do voicemails in 2015. And I actually almost declined because I was too nervous. And I sent you an email that was like, I really want to do it, but I don't know enough. And like, whatever.
Imposter syndrome.
For sure. Still have it. But it's like funny because like a lot of the voicemails were never like, hey, Ali, because like nobody knew who I was and nobody still does. So when I heard this, hey, Rob and Ali, I was like, oh, and then it's Frats. And like I do play Mafia with him. So it's like,
yeah,
it's an inside, the call's coming from inside the house. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, can I make the Mafia analogy that I have about this? Like,
you don't want to just like hear me continue to be emotional about being here?
Well, look, I'd love to have you here, and you're always, a home run on the podcast. So the pleasure is mine to have you back anytime that you come on the podcast.
Yes, please.
I feel like that to use my Mafia analogy for this group is like everybody knows Tori is in the Mafia. I mean, she is super sus. Everybody knows she's in the Mafia. But basically what happened was the detective just said, hey, Swathi confirmed Mafia. And then Tori is able to say, guys, can you believe it? Swathi, can't trust her. And it's like everybody sort of like forgot about Swathi. Or maybe is Tori the investigator? Tori investigated Swathi and said, aha, confirm Mafia.
I think Roxroy is the detective.
He's the detective.
But no, I mean, I think you're making a great point, and this is what often happens on a lot of social strategy games, both on TV and not, is like you have your sights set on Tori week 1 when Zach goes home, and you are like, oh, we could get that later. We could get to that later. We could get to that later. And then that person's at the end, and you never got to them, and you lose because of that. I don't think that's what's going to happen. But, 2 weeks 2 weeks up, 2 weeks down. I don't know. Is that an expression? The other thing I think works with the mafia reference is like what Frats is alluding to is I always say the mafia doesn't remember to say that they're good. Swathi didn't have that problem, right? She's telling everyone, you're my number one, you're my number one, you're my number one. I'm good with you, I'm good with you, I'm good with you. And as someone, Rob, who's played Survivor, I'm curious for your perspective on this, but I would just assume in life, someone comes up to you and is like, you're my best friend, and you don't feel that way about them, it doesn't make you feel closer. It gives you like the heebie-jeebies. So I don't think it like, I think it doesn't work for everything that you and Steven were talking about. Like, okay, people will put the pieces together nowadays and like and be like, oh, she said the same thing to me as she said to you. The only reason to me that that's happening is because it doesn't feel genuine. The people she's saying, you're my number one, don't feel even remotely that way about her. So you want to talk about something when it's awkward. And that's why this is sort of like coming up.
So yeah, I feel like that the "you're my number one" talk was not really what did her in. I feel like that then that she had been saying "you're my number one," and and then they found out about that this like she was like really double dealing, and it's like oh, what a liar. She told me we're number ones, and then she said the same thing to you. It was almost like that it was like more damning that they had like felt like, oh, survivors do this where anytime like survivors, remember this happened with Aubrey where it was like I forget which like what was the like damning line that Aubrey had said to multiple people, and if like any two survivors like clocked that you said the same like phrase to them, like, oh, they said the same thing to me, oh, that's it, we got them, it's over, open and shut case. And it's like you're so excited that it's like, oh, we caught them in a lie, that I feel like that you want to just like vote them out right away. And I still think that, you know, Swathi probably would have been, you know, a more valuable member of the group.
But number one is hard because even if you're saying the same thing to everyone, I get it that shouldn't be like damning. But number one is like, okay, well, she must not have meant if she said it to everyone. But what I thought you were going to say, which I agree with what you said, but I also agree with what I'm going to say, which is if why do I keep forgetting everything? I can't do this in the morning. Keep talking. I'll start thinking about it again.
I don't want to like out what time it is. It's not it's not sunrise.
Yeah, but I had to get up with the sun to do all my charts and my tinkering.
I get it. Yeah. So for Swathi, she was trying very hard to flip things around, but to no avail. Can we talk about a little bit of tribal council?
Wait,
yes.
I remembered. Sorry.
Yes.
So I was also reading the great Mike Bloom's great interviews on parade.com.
Sure.
And Swathi was saying how like all of the time she said she was their number one was like they edited out where they were saying it back to her. And I do think survivors are pretty guilty of like they're all doing the same thing, but if you get caught doing it, then it's bad. But like they're all telling each other they're each other's number one. So hypocrites, all of them.
Yeah.
Anyway,
basically it was like Swathi was a victim of like Drea said I love you and she said I love you back, and then it was like what she said I love you, what, like she was just saying it back. Let me
the tribal, sorry.
Yeah, of course, Ali, you went to Northwestern University, great media program at Northwestern,
so I hear.
So yes,
yes.
Not your area of concentration, but
also a great breeding ground for Survivor players.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Why? Who are some of the who's who of Northwestern Survivor players?
Well, Max Dawson didn't go to Northwestern, but he did teach there. Mm-hmm. Hannah, famous Northwestern alum.
Yes.
Alexis Maxwell, Northwestern alum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, go Cats.
So Jeff, wanted to get what Swathi was thinking about this whole situation, and so I thought that this was very interesting to hear what she thought about to try to summarize what was going on. Here's Swathi from Tribal Council.
Chef, I'm just going to throw something out there. I came in here thinking the headline was going to be.
Now, Jeff loves to know what's the headline. What's the headline here? Of course, famously asked Kim Spradlin, Kim, what's the headline? Kim did a great job of like Poker Alliance, talking about really it was a catchy headline. Swathi has written a headline for this story here at Tribal Council, or this is what Swathi thought the headlines of the story was going to be.
Somebody tried to make a big move. They thought others were willing. They weren't, and they got caught. And
Ali, is this so much a headline, or is this more of a blind item?
Yeah, I think this is more Page Six than New York Times. I did not take any journalism programs classes at Northwestern, but I do believe in like third grade we had to like write an article, and it was who, what, where, when, why, and how is like the general guideline for third grade journalists. She really missed the who. I don't know why we're being so cagey at Tribal. And then she like points to Tori at the end. So I don't know why there was
maybe do you think that maybe the headline said like, hey, somebody somewhere tried to do something that might work, but the picture was Tori.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Certain people did certain things that we all know about.
Yeah. Now, this is what Swathi thinks the headline might be instead.
I feel like the headline might instead be, is this same somebody going to be able to pin the blame on someone else and send that person home tonight?
I mean, again,
Page 2, same somebody pins blame.
Journalism is dying.
Your journalism now.
This generation, does not have the headline writers that, this is not the New York Post.
Well, we famously on the Challenge RHAP Up were called, quote, no press by someone on Are You the One? So again, I'm not a journalism expert. I am no press. It's the biggest mystery of our time. Brian and I say it all the time. No press. I don't know if it was like, no, all press is good press, but we're no press. I don't know. But a certain someone said that a certain podcast was no press. Was
no press. They specifically said that you and Brian on the Challenge RHAP Up are no press.
Yeah, I think it was Are You the One at the time, so I don't need to sully our great challenge coverage, which is press. That's why we had to be replaced by Amon.
You're pressed, baby. Yeah, you're pressed. So, what should the headline have been? Could you come up with a headline for this situation?
Yeah, this is interesting. So I'm going to break it down. The Who is sort of like, Tori narrowly escapes torch snuff. Tribe lives to regret it.
Yeah,
I'm like Leslie Knope.
That'd be like a very New York Times type headline. I guess in my mind, I'm trying to come up with like, what's the tabloid version of this?
Oh, the tabloid headline is you don't want me to say it.
Okay.
Do you want me to say?
I don't know. Well, if people want to send us some photoshops of the tabloid New York Post Daily News edition of what this headline might be.
Former YouTube reality semi-star from canceled fake reality show escapes death (survivor) semicolon Swathi suffers.
Yeah. All right. While we're talking about some weird things that were said in this episode of Survivor, can we go back to something that Mike said to start the episode?
You could go back to everything Mike has said in every episode of this season.
Are you enjoying Mike this season?
Who's not enjoying Mike?
Yeah.
It's deranged. I absolutely love Mike.
Okay, because he is a Jersey representative on this season.
We love a Hoboken boy for sure. I love him because he's like the perfect blend of like knows the game. He's sort of like, I mean, not to steal any thunder. I feel like he is sort of like the idiot savant. Like it's like he's ending up making good game moves, sort of happening backwards into them. And he's entertaining. Like, what's not to like about him? And he's got a great family story. Like, I'm eating it up every time he's on the screen. When he found the Beware advantage, I was like, I don't think Survivor is fake, but if it is, great decision to give him that Beware advantage. I am just devastated we haven't heard him say the phrase.
Because that phrase, you like the phrase that he has to say.
I don't care what they have him say. It's hilarious that he's going to have to somehow, if we go to the merge and Mike does not say this phrase, cancel the show. Like,
Mhm.
we've lost it. We've lost
Yeah.
it. Change the rules. He's got to say it.
He's got to
I
say
want
it.
Jeff to ask him some question. I want to see Jeff's big dimples out, glowing at Mike trying to say this phrase.
Yeah. Well, all right. Here's a phrase that Mike did say, talking about how this tribe, things were calm, not so much anymore.
There ain't no kumbaya. The K left, the kumbaya, the umba, everything left. There's no kumbaya. It's like, holy crap,
Holy crap, very, very common expression. Of
But I
course,
love
the
it.
opposite of kumbaya is holy crap,
Also, if everything left, the ayah would have also left. But you know what?
Mhm.
It's back. It came back with the holy crap.
Yeah.
What are some survivor expressions that are there any survivor expressions that you say outside of the podcast to non-survivor people? Do you interact with any non-survivor people?
Not really. Do my kids count? Are they non-survivor
Are you kidding
people?
me? Dominic Cesternino is the next coming of Rob Cesternino in terms of strategic analysis.
Okay, so
I know he's starting on Big Brother, but it's there. We know it's there.
what about Anthony? Does that count?
Look, don't lose hope on Anthony. He's got to be into Survivor too. This is your legacy. It's a
Yeah,
family
so-
business.
Yeah, not too many people that I interact with or would say wild phrases in front of.
All right, I'll say one then. I constantly say tip top toes. Unironically,
toes,
I don't sound
yeah.
like, oh, we're gonna go tip top toes. You're gonna go tip top toes with them. And people I'm at work and I say that. Like people think I don't know that it's the expression or that it's not the expression. And I just let it go because it's amazing. I think this has potential. Like it's really holy crap
Yeah.
I really like the Umbas left. That's my favorite part of this.
Yeah,
The
well,
Umbas left. The K
yeah,
is left.
the K left first. Yeah.
Then
there we
all
go.
of
There
it
ain't
left.
no kumbaya. The K left,
First the K leaves. Now it's just umbaya.
But then
kumbaya, the umba, everything left. There's
Kumbaya leaves again. There's
At
two
least
Ks.
twice. They left, they came back, and they left again. And now,
no kumbaya. It's like, holy crap,
yeah, holy crap, is the drop the 4, keep the 1.
The K's leaving and coming back so much. I'm gonna call it Josh Wiggler. Heyo.
It almost implies that kumbaya, it would be like if the word was like kambaya. It's a kambaya right now, and now it's a holy crap the opposite of a kambaya.
Look, I think we should start changing it to Kambaya. I think you're making a great point.
Are we saying it wrong? Does Mike know?
Mike's also saying it wrong then. The
Yeah.
Umba left. He would be saying the calm left. That's what you should say. He's like the calm left, and now it's holy crapaya. If it was Kambaya. But the Umba left.
Yeah. So is it still the same K? Is he spelling the holy crap? Did the K come back?
It's like I changed my mind. Get Anthony and Dominic out before it's too late. they don't. I want more for them than this.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, holy crap!
Holy crap,
Can I hear him say the Umba left one more time? Can we get that? Can we run it back?
Sure thing. Okay, here we go.
There ain't no kumbaya. The K left, the kumbaya, the umba, everything left. There's no kumbaya. It's like, holy crap,
You don't want to go tip top toes with the Umba.
Definitely not. Definitely not. All right, let's go back to some question. Okay. All right. Let's take a question from somebody who called in that this person goes by a interesting name.
Hey, Rob and Ali. First time, long time. Big fan. I just want to
It's definitely not Brian Cohen.
I think that might be Brian Scally.
DNBC.
quick shout out to Ali's challenge coverage. I think she has the best co-host on the planet, so I just wanted to give a quick shout out to him for all his great work. But about Survivor, I want to talk about the shot in the dark. Unfortunately, I don't think it can be classified as anything but a bust right now, and I think that a lot has to do with just the delivery of it. I don't understand the opening of the scroll. I think there could be something that's a lot more fun and interesting. And I keep thinking back to the do or die twist where, you know, you have to flip over the card, you get a little bit more of a choice, and it just, the delivery is a lot more fun and engaging. I'd love to get your thoughts about how the Shot in the Dark can be improved upon for season 43, because I do love it. I would like to see it stay, but it's just not working right now. So I'll get your thoughts. Thanks.
Okay. Ali, do you agree with DNBC that the Shot in the Dark is a confirmed bust?
It's so funny because definitely not Brian Cohen. Has a lot in common with Brian Cohen, because I know for a fact that Brian hates the way the scroll is unraveled and thinks it's like humiliating for Survivor, that it's like the most pathetic way to unveil not safe. So good to see that not Brian and Brian are on the
Yeah,
same
I
page.
used to like buy these things like in a vending machine that would like have like your horoscope that was like, and you had to like unroll it like that. It was like a similar type thing. It's like
Yeah.
about the same size as a shot in the dark.
Would that be an improvement? Do we get a gumball machine with the little like plastic popper things, and like, you know, you roll, there's 6 of them. The delivery, I'm sorry to both Brians, doesn't offend me as much. I know you've been saying that your brother has this great idea
Mhm.
to change the odds each week.
Yeah.
I do believe that at minute 36, 45 seconds into week 7 of the season 41 Survivor B&B, Ali Lasher had that same idea.
Oh.
And no, I have loved hearing you guys talk about it this season, because I said that on the B&B that just like it should decrease in odds. And as you guys have talked more about it this season, I've thought more about it. And like what I love even more about the idea of the shot in the dark going down 1 and 6, then 1 and 5, then 1 and 4, is there's an information asymmetry with how divided the tribes are right now, that like they have no idea who's played the shot in the dark. So you could be playing the shot in the dark on like this week, if you're Swathi, and not knowing who's already played it on another tribe. So you don't even know if your odds are 1 and 6 or 1 and 5 or 1 and 4. I like that too.
Mhm.
Because I think I said this last season, but I think that the whole point is like, and I think Brian's frustration with this is, it seems like it's never going to work. And that's what makes it a bust. If you're introducing the shot in the dark, the goal should be because you want those little pathetic scrolls to say safe, and it upset the apple cart. I don't understand why they're making it so like it's not guaranteed to pay off at least once.
Yeah, I had said last season that I felt like that the point of the shot in the dark was not for people to actually play the shot in the dark, but just for people to never let the person know they were going to go home. Just to always make sure that every vote was a blindside, because it's like, well, you can't have it be a blindside because, or you can't have it not be a blindside, because then the person will play the shot in the dark and ultimately the blindside will be ruined. This season, I feel like that the players have just been like, we don't care. We have another person we could vote on anyway. So it doesn't really matter. So we've had more sort of like open and shut cases, and with like an obvious fallback person. So I do love the idea of changing or letting the odds get better as people keep missing with the shot in the dark. But do you think that Jeff should announce at Tribal Council and by the way, the shot in the dark jackpot tonight, it's a 1 in 3 chance if anybody's thinking about playing a shot in the dark?
No, I want them to not know, and then I want it to go away after the merge.
After the merge. Okay.
Once it's used, or after the merge, whichever comes sooner.
Mm-hmm. Is it as important to have shot in the dark if we have a season that has like 9-person, 10-person tribes?
That's interesting. Well, because we would see more vote splitting to counteract the shot in the dark. Right now, basically on a 6-person tribe, all you could do is just pray that the shot in the dark doesn't work.
Right. Well, I just wonder, like, do you even need it as much? Like, I feel like it's sort of necessary of like, hey, I'm in a 6-person tribe. Everybody hates me. There's nothing I can do. All right. At least I have the shot in the dark. Whereas you have more outs, I feel like, in a bigger tribe.
Yeah, I was watching the early episode with someone who'd never seen before, and he was like, why are the two people just like going at each other? I forget who it was, honestly. Oh, it was Zach and Tori. Like, why don't they get together and try to get one? I was like, because you can't do that with 6 people. But yes, on a bigger tribe, you'd probably have more of like a 4-4 faction with like 1 or 2 people in the middle, and there was like more room to play, and we wouldn't see allies, you know, having to turn on each other like Tori and Swathi this week. It's like, why couldn't they band together and pick up another person? Not as much room to play on these kinds of tribes.
But how big will it be for the first person to hit the shot in the dark? Will that person be like very like celebrated and be like, do we need to see it miss like a lot of times for it to mean something for the person who hits it?
That's interesting. Like if the first ever shot in the dark play, like if Sydney, was she the first one to ever play it? If that,
she was the first one.
If that hit, but honestly, it just can't be week 1. Like if Zach's hit, I think, yeah, that would have been like not so exciting. No offense to Zach. I didn't want to see him go. But by that time I know it was week 7 because I just went back and did a very self-indulgent prep activity here. But 7 episodes in, even though no one played it, the legend still grew of like, well, what's going to happen with the shot in the dark? If that worked, especially given the circumstances of that tribal, I think it would have been really exciting. Something similar-ish is happening this season on RuPaul's Drag Race, where they gave all the queens a chocolate bar, and one of the chocolate bars is gold for no reason. There's no like theme, Willy Wonka theme of the season. It is deranged. But spoiler alert, the chocolate bar was gold. The golden chocolate bar was just discovered like last week. And that queen
And what does it do?
So the queen gets eliminated, and then she unwraps the chocolate bar, and week after week it became a meme. Everyone's like, it's just chocolate, and they go home. This time it was gold, and they stay full reset, and they're back the next week. It is, I think, in a talent kind of competition, a save like that is a little bit more of a black mark on the record of like, you were fully eliminated from the show. It's a little edge of extinction kind of thing. Like, you were gone, and by the grace of a chocolate bar, by full luck, you stayed.
Yeah.
In something like Survivor, how do you think the shot in the dark would play out if the shot in the dark was used successfully and then that person made it to the final 3? Would that be like an edge of extinction? Like you had a mulligan and that's not fair and you were voted out? Or do you think that would be like, wow, you really played well, luck was on your side, and we'll look at the rest of the game?
So I don't think it would really be held against that person, because I feel like that if somebody played an idol successfully, I don't think it would be like, well, you would have been voted out that night if you didn't have an idol. So they basically like played the shot in the dark. And I guess there's like a little more like guile in like finding the hidden immunity idol than there is in just like, okay, you just got lucky that night. But I don't think it's necessarily like a death blow. And I think especially if it was like in the pre-merge where it was like, hey, I found my allies after the merge, but my pre-merge tribe like had it out for me. I don't think that would be the, worst case scenario. I do think it would be interesting though, if they sort of like canceled tribal council, if it was like the person that like you open your shot in the dark after you got voted out, where then in the case of like the golden chocolate bar, basically it's like, all right, Swathi, like bring us your torch, and she's like, well, I did play the shot in the dark tonight. Like, okay, well, let's see it. And then if it's safe, you go back to camp, because that would be great TV. Where because on a judging show, it's like, the other queens aren't mad at the person, like they did the worst. It's not like that they really were thrown under the bus. It's like, imagine Swathi got voted out and then has to go back to camp with these people, and she pulled the shot in the dark. Like that would be a great TV. But I feel like that would be better served in like Australian Survivor, where they're looking for reasons to have non-elimination episodes. And we, in the 26-day format, like we can't afford to be doing these non-elimination episodes. We got to keep this thing moving.
No, I agree. I do think it's slightly different from the idol for the reasons you said. Like, I do think it's looked more as like everyone has one. You did nothing to get it. And especially in a pre-merge episode where it was only 6 people, you probably knew undoubtedly you were going home. It wasn't even like, oh, I sniffed out and like used it. So I think it probably wouldn't and shouldn't matter if you're in the final 3. But if I were up against a person who used it, I would be hammering that like so hard.
Sure.
In terms of Brian's question about how it should be delivered, I like what you said about it being used at the end. But then that undermines everything that you rightly said. Justifies having the shot in the dark, which is, nobody still needs to really scheme for the blind side, because the consequence isn't Swathi decides who goes home if the shot in the dark works, right? That's what motivates people to keep things a blind side. But like there should be some mechanic where she plays it and she's doing it in front of people. I think even if it was scroll selection, even if it's like there are 6 little scrolls that Jeff brings out and she picks one in front of them when she goes to play it. Maybe that would be more like the equivalent of like rolling a dice in front of everyone. And like, that's the drama of seeing the reveal. Should we get a 6-sided die where 5 of them say not safe and 1 of them says safe?
I mean,
children's show.
I've always said I thought that would be the more exciting execution of this. So like you buy a ticket to roll the shot in the dark, and then sort of like, we have like basically like a dice game from like The Price is Right, basically like oversized sort of like, craps table where, it's like, all right, roll the shot. And then you sort of like, throw the thing like Frenchie did. And then, well, let's see if it's safe. Like just like Michelle flipped the coin at Tribal Council.
Do we bring out a wheel? Do we take it to a wheel? Can you imagine
could.
Jeff like spinning a big wheel?
You could. I feel like that Survivor feels like these types of things are probably like a little too like Big Brothery, which we've like seen all of these exact devices we're talking about on the most recent season of US Big Brother, a wheel that they would bring out, dice, a coin. So I think that Survivor feels like that this is like a little more classy the way they're doing it.
I agree. I don't like any of these metrics, and that's why I'm fine with the scroll. But we have to humor, not Brian.
Okay. All right. Ali, I'd love to get your take on Jonathan. I've got a couple of Jonathan questions for you. Okay. How about Megan the librarian? A great caller has a question for you, Ali.
Hi, Rob. Hi, Allie. It's Megan the librarian, and I'm calling to talk about the guy everyone's talking about, Jonathan. So that episode a couple of weeks ago when he was helping his tribe mates in the water really made me think back to Survivor fans versus favorites, when we saw Joel, the big guy, drag Chet around the obstacle course, which I still think is one of the worst things I've ever seen on Survivor. And I thought there was such a contrast between the way Joel used his strength to humiliate Chet and the way Jonathan used his strength to help his tribe mates. And we heard him talk this week about how he sees his strength as a service that he's providing to the team. So I was wondering if you could talk about this strategy of using strength to support others and where you think Jonathan fits in sort of the history of the big, strong dude archetype on Survivor. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Okay. Ali, how are you feeling about Jonathan?
If this season ends and in like 6 months, Jonathan's like in the jungle screaming with a bunch of other shirtless men, or like, I'm gonna be so upset because I sometimes come on here and I've got a bone to pick with the fan fave. I have no such bone. I love Jonathan. When he first was like, his first thing he said was like, I hold the world record for the most pull-ups with 100 pounds on my back. I tweeted some snotty thing like, you lost me at bragging about your pull-ups, like, wow. But
yes,
my God, what a turnaround. He is just such a sweetheart. I think it started with his relationship with Omar and like their unlikely pairing. And he's so close with Marianne, and just, he's awesome. And I really, really, really don't want to have to go back on having said that. But that said, I think what's really interesting, and it's funny that Megan the librarian should call, and I'm gonna quote Stephen Fishback, the king of the libraries, but he said, I think in the beginning of the season that this was sort of like, I don't know how he put it. I feel like Evie, where it's like, I don't want to say old, I don't want to say physically
later
weak.
days,
like, it's not the most physical looking group of men that we've ever had. Is that fair to say?
That's
besides
fair.
Jonathan. And in that way, I kind of question if the tribe makeup is like really unfair to have him there, because there's not like, I think Mike and Roxroy are his like analogs on the other tribes, and I don't think that really works. Regardless, Jonathan mentioned actively this week that he wants to be seen as a shield. He said that to Lindsay, I think. What might work better for him than it has with prior shields is like, okay, you take out one shield and there's usually like 2 or 3 more physical men who are going to be there. And so you have to start kind of chopping those down. Once Jonathan goes, we're in like a really open physical playing field. And so I do think he maybe will be able to survive a bit longer in just like, as the provider, as somebody that everybody likes to have around, that maybe he can sneak through on like, there's no, it's just me you have to worry about. So just worry about me a few more weeks. I don't know. What do you think?
It'll be really interesting to see how it goes after the merge, because he's just, as you pointed out, he's such an outlier where, and I think it's sort of like great maybe like in the first couple of votes of the merge, because his tribe might be a little worried about it, like, oh, are they going to come for us? Okay, well, at least they'll take out Jonathan first. But then if Jonathan wins the immunity challenge, now what are you going to do? Omer and Marianne and Lindsay, that's definitely going to be like something on a target on you when you get there. But to go back to Megan's question of like, how does Jonathan compare to Survivor's past big men? People like Joel from Survivor, Fans versus Favorites. Yeah, he does seem to have this distinction where maybe James in like Survivor China had like a little bit of that where it's like, oh, he's such a powerhouse. And James was like physically fit, but James is not like a giant. James is like I think he's probably like 5'9", like having like met him in person.
Really?
Yeah, James is not like especially tall.
That's piping hot tea.
I think a lot of times the survivors, especially, so I don't know exactly just how tall Jonathan is, but I feel like that, like Matthew Von Erfeld, that people thought like, oh, he must be like, he's like the same height as me. It's not like that he is like a giant by any stretch of the imagination. So sometimes people that like are really like physically fit on Survivor, I think you think that they're actually taller than they are. But Jonathan, I mean, he's holding the ladder. He does seem to be like probably. I guess he's probably like 6'3", 6'4", in that ballpark. But, James had that sort of like the first time he played that sort of attitude of I have to provide for my tribe. And, he's sort of like the, person who is like, he's a like, big, strong guy, but like he's so kind. And that's why he was such a fan favorite in that season. And typically we have sort of like the big guy is sort of like brooding and I need to eat more and gets sort of cranky because they're not getting as much food. And Jonathan like doesn't have that at all.
Yeah, I was going to say like the Garrett problem, right? Like a lot of times like the big muscly man is the one who suffers the most from the food deprivation. And it might just be that they're able to find food. I mean, that fish reward, what's weird about the fish reward is like that doesn't keep. So you have to eat all of those fish in like one sitting, right? And then once you get food and you get momentum, then you're winning every reward challenge and you're like continuing to get the food. Yeah, I think it's because he's got such like, I know he's like faith is really important to him and he's got this sort of like, I don't know, moral and spiritual center about him. So he's got this physical, like unbelievable ability, but then he's got like strong, like presence and sense of mind that can maybe ground him and keep him like positive through the suffering portion of it. And that's a fascinating combination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Jonathan, we found out, has been preparing for this his entire life from the time he was 3 years old, Ali.
When I was young, and I was like 3, my dad, he used to wake me up and make me do pull-ups. And he would tell my brother and I to run up a mountain and race. And whoever lost had to do it 3 more times.
Okay, now, Ali, first off, I'm done hearing you complain that I made you wake up and do a podcast, okay? That's enough. Enough of that. I didn't ask you to do one pull-up or run up one hill. Enough.
I'm crying. Is this the race that Puya and Mike Bloom are going to do? And if whoever loses has to like,
they have to run the race 3 more times. I would have to say, if I ever saw a 3-year-old doing a pull-up, that is also extremely impressive.
It's interesting because I thought this story was going to go to a dark place, frankly. Like, but it seemed to be that's like, oh, and I had a really big foundation of strength. And I'm like, okay, well, if you're fine with it, I'm fine with it. But it does raise a half, as my mom said, a half eyebrow. Quarter
half eyebrow. Yeah, I mean that this is just wild. With the preparation that dad like why was dad like a big Survivor fan that he was like I'm gonna get my 3-year-old ready to go play Survivor in his early 30s?
I am worried that Jonathan's dad might be in the jungle shirtless with the suspect men. No, could speaking of Anthony and Dom, could they do any pull-ups, you think?
No,
how's their upper body shape?
Not only that, I can't even get them to wake up and go to school in the morning, let alone wake up and start doing calisthenics.
You got to be running a tighter ship over there. We'll get a Keith in there and he'll really whip them all into shape.
Sure. So, I mean, hey, look, forget King Richard. Maybe it's time we get the movie on Jonathan's dad.
Wow, that analogy just slapped me right in the face.
It's incredible. Okay, so I got another Jonathan question for you. Okay, this one comes to us. This is from Madison has a question about Jonathan and something that he said this week. Here is Madison.
Hi, Rob. This is Madison. I've got a question about Jonathan. In the challenge, he was called out by Jeff and put in a position where he needed to respond to Jeff. He discussed their unity, which made his tribe mates a little upset. How could he have maneuvered that conversation so that he's not putting an even larger target on his back? Also, how can you adapt your game if you find yourself as the teacher's pet, if you will, like Jonathan or even Marianne? Thanks.
Yeah.
Love the podcast.
Okay. Thank you so much, Madison. Okay. So yeah, Jonathan was at like the center of attention because Jeff was really, talking about like what a great job they're doing. And Jeff asked Jonathan this question.
Jonathan, does it speak to the idea of a tribe finding its core?
You know what? Jonathan's kind of in a tough spot here. Where does he answer the question like as Tori would say, like Jeff? No, look at me. I mean, I'm doing everything around here. He tried to I think give a political answer of like, oh yeah, Jeff, we're just like we're working together so great as a team, and we're just gonna keep working together. And then it was like, oh, Jonathan, you idiot. That we heard Marianne and Omer were really not happy with him. Omer even said this about Jonathan.
So that was frustrating to see that my main man is a bit of a slop.
He's a bit of a slop.
It's so many things to unpack in this one moment. First of all, he missed the opportunity for a great joke. Jeff asked you if it's found its core. You're shirtless. You've got abs. Be like, they found this core, and we move on.
Yes.
But I don't think humor is Jonathan's like biggest strength, and that's okay. Strength isn't my biggest strength. But yeah, I'm glad that Madison asked this question because my reaction to this was, what is so bad about what Jonathan said to answer the question? What you said that he's like your summary of what he said to me, I think would have been preferable. I think the issue is that he said, quote, solid 4. Yeah. Because that's sort of like alliance terminology and voting terminology. If he said like, we're a tribe and we work really great together in these challenges, we come together like a team, great teamwork, whatever, anything not analogous to voting. I think we're a solid 4 as they have their eyes set on the merge is tough. But what is the downside to it's high. It's like we're not flipping, so you make your pitch to us. And they don't know the makeup of the other tribes, but like I think Ika and Vati are going to be, what are the odds that the chaos tribes are going to come together and start looking at Taku?
That's a really interesting point. Do you want to project strength maybe where there isn't any, or do you want to like project like weakness of like, yeah, Jeff, it's amazing that we came together to the challenges because we fight like cats and dogs back at camp. I do not like these people, but for whatever reason, these challenges, I wish we could capture this back at the camp because it's a nightmare.
I mean, I get that if you are Vati and Ika and you're looking to sort of maneuver, right? You have Hai and Lydia who are probably going to stay together as a 2 as we approach the merge if they both survive. Maybe Romeo and Drea are going to sort of be a 2. You'd probably rather join forces with a looser structured tribe than to be the bottom 2 in a group of 4 with Taku. And that's sort of the concern. But like, I think Steven said this, I was like, that's what this is. This is like team spirit. We're so great. Like we're winning. And then you go to the merge and you shift and you adjust. I don't think this was like so crazy that he said it. And frankly, he's the biggest target. If he never said a word and Jeff never said a word about him, his just sheer physical presence is target enough. What do you think about this, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like much ado about nothing. I think they needed something to talk about, and it was kind of overblown. You didn't see either of the tribes like going back to camp, and we followed Ika. We didn't see Body anymore in the episode, but we went back to Ika. It wasn't like that they were talking about. Can you believe what that piece of work Jonathan had to say about how they were tight for? Like we got to break them up. It's like, well, good luck because you're down to 4.
Can we talk about the rest of the challenge, actually, which I normally never want to talk about, but I actually
Please.
thought we got a lot of interesting little like strategy nuggets in the challenge. And this is sort of Madison also asked, how do you adjust when you're the teacher's pet? Which I love that way to describe it with Jeff.
Mhm.
I did feel like Jeff was much more positive towards every other player in this challenge. And I don't know if like that was to compensate for how like much he lauded Jonathan, but like he was like, someone jumped and got a bag and he's like, that's how you do it. And then
Mhm.
nice job. Lydia completely misses the bag. And like, much respect, girl. I would also completely miss the bag, but a little too short. Great effort. Like, he's like cheering from the bench. Like, normally he'd be like, Lydia completely misses, no shot.
Mhm.
So I thought he was giving a lot of positivity around the group.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if we ever see Jeff just like destroy somebody in a challenge like ever again, because I feel like that even the people like that were struggling to get things done at different times, like Tiffany, you know, of course we all remember Heather and not giving up in the challenge. I think as long as you don't quit in a challenge, if you just keep going, I don't think we'll ever see Jeff like come down hard on any challenge competitor ever again.
It's a shame because Jonathan Penner's reactions to so much. I feel like every time I'm on, I have to have a reason to quote Jeff going, Penner getting mad at me. My favorite.
My ass.
I really thought it was interesting that after Hai and Mike pull the boat together, they get out and Mike gives Hai a hug and says like, I love you, man. I can't believe we did that.
Yeah.
I have we really seen like I think because these tribes are so not physical, or that's not their biggest strength, and they're suffering in that department, particularly in the shadow of Goliath, sorry to say, like they're bonding over having like completed a physical, like exhausting task. And then there's Daniel over there on the bench. And I really do think like that's going to further solidify Hai and Mike. And there has to be, a reason why we saw that. I don't know. I just feel like I don't normally see that in challenges.
Yeah, that was interesting that they chose to show that because it was just such an unusual moment. And I don't know if it was like, okay, hey, this is weird. Look at this. Or if they wanted to just basically sort of show that, okay, well, Mike and Hai are going to be like, and we've seen more like Mike and Hai than like Hai and Lydia. Like Lydia, who I'm sure we'll talk about her when we get to social media, like has probably been the most purple person in the season.
Yeah. I mean,
of the remaining players.
No, that's actually true. If you asked me to sort of like name all of the players, she would be lower on the list of like who would come to mind. But I really thought this challenge performance from her really showcases what Hai was saying last week about why he flipped on Jenny, is just like, you value strength, and that's not the strength that I bring to the table. And Lydia undoubtedly was the reason that they were so behind, right? She went up twice and missed twice in the bag, but then she goes and does the puzzle, and it's like
the blindfold challenge too. She was the person they were in last, and then she led them to come in first in the puzzle. So she's actually been very good in the puzzles.
So I think that's even more of a reason to sort of look at Daniel, because I think what his strength would be is like, oh, I'm good at puzzles, and Lydia is like bad in certain physical aspects of the challenges, but a huge strength in others, and enough that she can make up on the back end for it.
Okay. Let's take a question from Kiana, who has a question about the rewards on this season of Survivor.
Hey, Rob, it's Kiana calling in with a question. In the episode last night, we saw that Jeff really undersold the fish, similar to how he really undersold the stew last season. And that got me wondering, is Jeff purposely underselling these rewards? Shouldn't he be overselling them and trying to breed jealousy in between the tribes? Something to think about. What do you think? Thanks.
Okay. I think this is an interesting question because I think there is something here, Ali. Of course, like we remember last season when Xander said, Jeff, you totally undersold the stew. I don't know if Jeff was trying to undersell the stew, but I definitely feel like he did try to undersell the fish, because basically we tell them about this reward. It's going to be 10 fish for the tribe. Here's how Jeff describes this.
I know what you're playing for?
Yeah.
In a season of not much, this is a little.
Okay. In a season of not much, this is a little. First off, in a season of not much, wouldn't this be a lot?
It's like me talking about dating with other women in New York. In a season of not much, just a little.
Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, I want to see every reward. Why are we not unveiling fish in front of everyone? Why is it even up to Jeff to be describing these rewards? Even if they're going to the Charmin floating pizza dock in whatever, I want to see a pizza to represent the reward.
And perhaps you don't want to have 10 dead fish baking in the sun.
Well, you take them off, cart them off,
Yeah.
bring them in, bring them out. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Give me prop fish. I want to see the fish.
I love it. So I do feel like that, Survivor just has like this complex about how, this has to be the hardest season ever. And I almost feel like that Jeff is like purposely like downplaying like how good the rewards are. And he still says, hey, worth playing for. He calls them, in a season of not much, this is a little, you'll get 10 decent sized fish, which Marianne, these fish, Marianne later on, she wonders about.
We're like, yo, Jeff, you must be eating like a king to think these are decent sized fish.
Do you think that Jeff Probst is eating giant sized fish and that to him, these are decent sized fish? Does Jeff they bring him like a swordfish, like on his a small one today, gentlemen? Okay. Make do.
I mean, I was with you 100% that the reason that he's doing this is not for the players, it's for us. It's like there's some fascination with making us believe that I'm always of the opinion that I don't really need them to be within an inch of their life. I want them to be able to be able to think about things. Exactly. For some reason, that is not being let go by production, which is fine. But then showing Marianne's excitement about them, and then we actually do see the fish, then I'm like, that kind of runs counter to it. So I have no idea why Jeff is doing that. I think he likes drama. He's a messy bitch, and we love to see it. Oh, sorry.
Okay. I would like to see the fish that Jeff is eating back at camp.
I mean, yeah, no, I'm not even going to say that.
Okay. Oh, no. Now I'm curious. Okay. All right. Let's see. How about a question about okay, this is from Samir. Samir writes in. Says, curious for Allie's take on my debate in my law school friends Survivor group chat.
Oh no.
If you all knew about Daniel, if all you knew about Daniel was what we've seen on TV and that he's a new lawyer, what school would you have guessed he went to?
You Chicago, and it's not close. And no, I will not be explaining at this time.
Okay.
That's a funny question. Pop into my DMs and we'll discuss. No, I mean, it's so funny, right? Because first of all, I just have to criticize Tori for the most useless lie of all time. I know that's not an original take.
Which one?
Want that on the record. Which one? I'm a caretaker, not a therapist. Therapy is so intimidating. I want people to think I'm a caretaker. Okay. I face this in my life, right? Like there are few professions that come with such judgment as lawyer, right? And I feel bad that people are watching Daniel on the island and are like, this guy's a lawyer and he can't negotiate while starving out of a tribal council, whatever. Not to be all Stephen Fishback about defending Daniel here, but it is funny because I can't even remember half of the other people's jobs, right? I don't know. I know that Mike is a retired fire chief. I think that's it. And Roxroy is a dad. So it's just interesting how Daniel being a lawyer is such a part of his narrative, but
Well, it was also a reason of hey, I need to read the rules again because I'm a lawyer. And then, also, I think that he was really put into the spotlight of having to, get into this sort of closings argument with Hai. So it has been a big talking point this season.
No, he's definitely playing into it. Yeah, in a way that I don't love to play into it on my end, but I get it.
Okay. A question for you, back to Jonathan. Michael wants, actually, let's go to David, and then another question about Jonathan. How many seasons until we see Jonathan on the challenge? 1 or 2?
How old is Jonathan?
29.
Jonathan's only 29 years old?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Thought he was quite a bit older than that.
Thought he was later days.
I thought he was a little bit later days, more on the Akiva side of life, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. You think, is he challenge material?
So, Rob, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, I would always assume that Survivor would only want somebody on the challenge that they were done with.
Mm-hmm.
But then we've seen in Big Brother, they've put like their winners, their loudest people, like people that they invited back to another season, but then had COVID. I don't know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even get into Big Brother right now. I feel like Jonathan, I thought the question was going to be how many seasons till Jonathan's back on Survivor.
Yeah.
Like, I know that Jeff has said he's not big on returners right now, but like new returners.
Let's do this. Where does Jonathan show back up? Does Jonathan show back up onto the challenge or to Survivor?
Or we split the difference and we say CBS the challenge if that comes back.
Yeah, and just in case people don't know, there is an upcoming edition of I believe it's called the Challenge CBS, which is going to premiere later on this has been all announced, later on in 2022. That's going to feature people, alumni from Survivor, from Big Brother, from Amazing Race even, and also a heavy dose of Love Island, which is now on Peacock.
What more do you want?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and more information is available about what is going on with that as you continue to Google.
I'll tell you what, I think it's more attractive for somebody to go on the challenge because there's more of a career in the challenge. If you can get invited back, he could do this for 15 years. He's 29. He could do this till he's in his 40s, like everybody else on the show, if he hits it off. And that's definitely not the case and shouldn't be the case for Survivor. What do you think, Rob? If Survivor wanted a person to return, do you think that makes them more likely or less likely to send them over to the challenge in the interim?
I think it depends what he's looking for, but I think that if they came to him and said, like, because I would say of these 18 people, and this is probably like a mildly hot take, I think of the 18 people in this cast, I think that Jonathan right now might be the most, no doubt about it, returning player
for Survivor.
Agreed,
100%.
I think Marianne is probably right there also, but I think that he's just like really popped and has like a skill set that is like off the charts as opposed to maybe anybody else in the season, which are like these characters are fun but maybe not necessarily like completely unforgettable 5 years from now.
I agree. I think Jonathan is number one on the list to come back. And honestly, like a lot of the people that ends up going to the challenge are sort of like, it's usually like they didn't, I don't know. It's been Michelle Fitzgerald. It's been Tommy, Michaela, Jay. I could be forgetting other people. It's been a while since I've talked about the challenge.
Yeah. And Jay was somebody who at the time was probably like a no doubt about it all-star, but he's never played Survivor again. And so like the opportunity never just came up. So whereas the challenge is a more consistent work with Survivor, it's really like the luck of the draw as to when they're going to do a returning player season. And I feel like that, if you want to do the challenge, if they want you bad enough, they'll bring you back for Survivor.
And I think there's a lot of people right now who could make the jump to the challenge. Like I could see Chanel, Romeo, Tori, Drea. Like I could see them looking at a lot of these people to be on the challenge proper. So I would say it's more likely that Jonathan's going to be on Survivor again or the challenge CBS before they let him go off to the challenge proper.
I don't get the sense that an all-star season of Survivor is, very close to happening. Right. Perhaps at the soonest, maybe Survivor 44 could potentially be all-stars. But I suspect that it's probably still going to be a couple of years before we do another all-star Survivor.
So do you think they would do another thing where it's like 3 tribes, 3 returners for any reason. We don't really have anyone in the new era that would be a part of that.
I don't know. I feel like that they just like the thing that almost nobody complains about Survivor right now is the casting. People, love the casting. We love the job that Jesse Tannenbaum is doing. They're finding all these great players, all these people who have like interesting stories. So it's like, sure, I guess you could do All-Stars, but I feel like that people are almost always like ultimately unsatisfied with these All-Star seasons. And I feel like that Survivor has no problem finding great people to be on the show.
No, it's a great point. I mean, I've said of last season, like, I would watch this entire cast play again, no changes of last season's cast. Like, run it back. I would love to watch it again. This season, every vote, I like don't want either person to go home. Like, even in the Mariah, especially like the Marianne vote, I was like, I'm going to be really upset either way. And like, yes, Mariah didn't have that much going on screen time wise, but what we did hear from her, I thought was like really compelling and I would have liked to see more. So when it was Lydia or Jenny, I was like going to be very upset if it was either one of them. So for that to be the case this early on, it's a really strong cast.
Ali, I know you have social media to talk about here with us here today, but this is sort of social media adjacent, and I wanted to talk with you about this here on the Feedback Show. Have you been following the Potato Gate saga?
No.
Are you familiar with this? Okay.
No.
So there are many people in the Survivor community that are upset about, in the first episode of Survivor this season, we saw a clip of Jeff teasing the advantages, which were going to be part of this season. Okay, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
And we saw a clip where it was Tori looking at seemingly the paperwork for the advantage, and then reading a phrase that has not been said yet on Survivor. This was in the Survivor 41 preview that we saw Survivor 42 preview that we saw at the end of Survivor 41, and then in the first episode of this season. Many viewers, people very vocal on social media, have been very upset because they felt like that both when Zach went home and then this week again, that the outcome of the vote was spoiled because we have not yet seen Tori find the third beware advantage and say the phrase, potatoes have skin. I have skin. Am I a potato?
I have nipples, Greg. Can you milk me?
Yes.
Does the Meet the Parents reference still hit these days? Probably not.
I'm not the person to ask. Okay. I would be lucky to be Chugi. I aspire to be Chugi. So, one astute YouTuber, person named OMG, has gone back and pulled the clips and says, something interesting is going on here. When I know people are very upset that feel like these episodes have been ruined, but Tori's mouth doesn't move. We're sort of getting like inner monologue of Tori. Tori is looking at something, and we are hearing the third clue read, but this YouTuber says, this is not Tori's voice. This is Marianne's voice from the season 41 finale. I'll play that for you now, and you can tell me what you think. Okay.
Potatoes have skin. I have skin. Am I a potato?
Okay. Which I agree. Does not sound like Tori's voice. Sounds like Marianne's voice. And then that same clip again appears in the Survivor 42 premiere. And this time, the YouTuber says that this is not Marianne's voice, but also still not Tori's voice.
Potatoes have skin. I have skin. Am I a potato?
Very interesting.
Oh.
And now,
is that Jenny?
I don't know if it's Jenny. I don't know if it's somebody, an editor it sounded very clean. Like, I'm not sure if this is even like on location at Survivor. This could have been somebody like,
oh, you think someone's doing it in post and they're airing that? Rob, come on.
You don't think so? Well, listen, here's it again.
Potatoes have skin. I have skin. Am I a potato?
I'm looking at my chart of people. Hold
Yeah.
on.
So some people say, is that Lindsay maybe? But either way, it's very weird that we get the same clip twice in two different voices. Now, again, I have seen people say to me, hey, doesn't matter. Still, why would they show this clip and make us think Tori has the beware advantage? Only then when she is the decoy boot. So we're already thinking Tori has the beware advantage. So obviously she can't go home. I'm like, look, I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I'm just saying that this is interesting. It's a mystery.
I think that might be Jenny.
Well, when did Jenny find the beware advantage?
No, but Mike had it. They all
Mike
have
had
all the
it,
phrases.
and Jenny read it. Okay, so even still, so we're shown Tori like looking at this, and people have also pointed out this is a clip of Tori from the premiere, also, which this is now we are at day 9 in the season, and so
How dirty does Tori look in the clip?
Looks very clean. Here, you want me to send you the
share the screen? Can we share this? Can we bring it up?
I can bring it up if you give me a second.
Bring it up. I had to get ready for video. Let's use it.
Yeah, let me see. Actually, Sam Moore behind the scenes. Yeah, could you work on that so I don't sound too distracted while I'm talking to Allie? And so people are wondering what is going on here, Allie.
Wow. I mean, I do have friends who with other shows like refuse to watch the coming up on next week on the previews, and they like fast forward it. They don't watch it. So if you're really, it shouldn't be. I am sympathetic to the audience. It should not be the case that we have to not watch the previews, the CBS issued previews, in order to not be spoiled. But if you really don't want to be
this wasn't even
spoiled,
the preview. This was the first 2 minutes of the premiere. This is like
yeah,
this
but
season.
that's this season on. Like anytime they're starting with this season on, coming up this week, next week, you gotta go. But
yeah.
I also hot take. I would be devastated if I knew like the winner or a boot order. Do not at me. Do not tweet me. I will be upset. I don't need to issue any threats on the podcast.
Right.
But I did know. I watched this episode on Thursday, and I was spoiled by Swathi's own tweet that she went home. And I have to say, like, I was still like, is it going to be Swathi? Is it going to like, and I knew, right? So like, I do think people get more up in arms about episode to episode spoilers. Like if you're watching it and it's ruined for you because you think Tori's not going to go home. I'm so sorry to hear that. It does not ruin the episode for me. Sorry to that man.
Yeah. So I feel like, I'm going to say, I don't think Tori's going to find the beware advantage.
I mean,
now,
God, I hope not.
I can't speak to why. And if we were waiting for Sam Moore to send us that screenshot of Tori, he just dropped off the call. So hopefully, it's just take my word for it. Tori looks very, very clean.
Did she just win a shower reward and then she
just won a shower award?
God.
And I suspect that I think that maybe the third beware advantage does not get found or does not get found by Tori. That's my that's what I think will happen. And maybe it does. And again, I can't speak to why they would make you think it was Tori here. It's possible that maybe they were like, okay, well, don't show the person that does find it. Make them think Tori has it. And then they didn't think through that, oh, wait, Tori is going to be the decoy boot on, 2 different tribal councils. And that's actually going to screw this up.
Yeah. I mean, I'm starting to get nervous. The third one's not going to be found too. Because when do you think we're going to emerge?
Typically, in season 41, it was one more episode, and then there's a 2-hour Survivor scheduled for the night of, I believe it's April 13th. So I suspect that's going to be the night that we're going to have some sort of merge twist. I don't know if it will be the hourglass again, but in the same way that
keep going.
In the same way that we had it's a 2-part merge episode that they spread out over 2 nights. I think we get that all in one episode.
Okay. I'm so glad you said this. I like what you said about hourglasses.
I like what you said about hourglasses.
Daniel said something very strange this episode.
Yes.
He said like something turned on a dime.
Oh, I have
and
the
he
clip
said, yeah.
because this was another weird thing that's not a phrase.
This game is totally fickle. It can turn on a dime, which is what I'm hoping it does again, because right now I'm in a world of hurt and I need a dime to turn.
I need a dime to turn? Is he going to be flipping that hourglass, breaking that hourglass?
Was that one of the secret phrases of this game turns on a dime, and right now I need a dime to turn?
I feel like Daniel's going to be the one breaking that glass.
Interesting.
I need a time to turn. Sorry, Harry Potter freaks. I'm not talking about time turners. I'm talking about smashed hourglasses.
Mark the clip. Ali Lasher, forget episode 7 of season 41 of the B&B, okay? This is going to be the next shot to call.
From the person who brought you Ken Sucks comes Daniel's going to be the one breaking the hourglass.
Yep. Ali's been new before. Ali, all right. Should we talk some Survivor social media, or do you have any other takes from your notes you want to hit before we get there?
Can we talk about one more thing? This isn't even like necessary to talk about because there's no information at all. Can we like revisit who has that like blood covered three-way shared
advantage
idol?
amulet? Yeah. So it's Drea, it's Hai, and it's Lindsay.
Isn't that fascinating? Like, I kind of can't believe that those three, that just like randomly, that all three of them have still survived in these votes. I don't know. The odds probably are in favor of that. But I think looking at their positions in the game, that they're very likely to all three of them make the merge.
All three of them are likely to make the merge. So could the advantage amulet maybe sort of like, I think Lindsay is the person who, if she has the thing going on as part of like this solid 4, it's almost like could it bring the other tribes together where if like, let's say Hai, Lydia, Mike are looking for people to work with, and then like Drea and Romeo, maybe Roxroy are looking for people to work with. Okay, now that's 6 potentially. Could that sort of like help seal the deal of like when we talked about like, okay, well, if we're a solid 4, is that going to make the other tribes potentially unite against that group? I think the advantage amulet helps that. And it's like, hey, let's get rid of Lindsay. And at least we have, a vote steal now. Now we're talking. That's something.
Well, yeah, I think it's actually going to be really good news for Jonathan because it's going to be a reason that 3 people, and they're going to have to tell some other people, are maybe going to be looking at each other instead of him. I'm excited to see, like, who knows, next week anything could happen. One of them could go home, but I am excited that we're going to get to see this play out with all 3 of them in the merge. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, but I think that between Jonathan being a shield and then also the prospect of that thing turning from a extra vote to a vote steal, I think that if I had to like pick a person who's going to be the merge boot this season, I think that maybe that I would guess Lindsay. That's my hot take.
It's interesting. So who currently doesn't have a vote right now? Marianne and Omar?
Well, Omar doesn't have a vote, and Marianne still doesn't have a Mike still doesn't have a vote.
I think, it
but
kind of
but
projected
at the
like
merge,
Taku.
they would come back.
But Omar's too? Or it's just, I think has no vote at the merge.
If he doesn't go to tribal council before then. Yeah.
Right. It's very interesting.
Yeah. A lot of stuff going on.
Well, I was going to say, should he be like trying to throw it to go to, but he thinks he has an extra vote.
He has no idea. He's like, hey, I got an extra vote.
Oh God, I love when things make no logical sense. That's so fun. Good for Chanel.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't want Chanel to get voted off, but I am looking forward to your exit interview at some point to say, what the hell?
Yeah. Because it rhymes with Chanel. What the hell, Chanel?
No, just like, what were you? Oh. That's better.
All
right. Should I pivot to the Soch?
Sure.
Means?
Let me see. Well, let me give you a couple other quick things that I had. Romeo was talking about how Roxroy is getting on his nerves this week.
I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get to the end. Show montage, Roxroy and Romeo in the woods.
I do feel like that part of the new era, Ali, is like sort of like calling your own montages.
I do like that. I like this from Romeo, and I look forward to you and Jenny Autumn recapping the show Roxroy and Romeo in the Woods. I think I think that has legs. Yeah, I also that was another interesting thing in the challenge, which like I don't think I've ever said in my entire life watching Survivor, is they did cut in like audio of Roxroy being bossy about the puzzle. Like I
Mhm.
think they're really that hasn't paid off. So I do kind of think it's strange that we always get this narrative that Roxroy is so annoying around camp and overly paternal. And he had a
Yeah.
great moment with Swathi at Tribal, but generally all we're hearing about Roxroy is how much everyone dislikes being around him. But then he's not even coming up as a possible target this week.
What do you think if Ika goes to another tribal council? Do you think it's a slam dunk Tory, or do you think that Roxroy potentially gets at least some side eye, if not the votes?
I think it would be unconscionable for them to not vote out Tory here. There is no rhyme or reason. If you're going to look at who's loyal, literally Roxroy got told, and honestly, while I don't understand why Tory had this conversation with Roxroy, they're not close and there was no tribal happening at the time. It was a very natural progression. Roxroy says, I think Drea could have an idol. And she's like, oh, well, let me offer you this information. And
Yeah.
for some unknown reason, he's still like, nah, I don't trust it. And like, you're confirming my gut instinct, and yet I don't trust you. Like, Roxroy is such a soldier for you. And Tori has actively shown you that she will scheme and plot too much. And if you keep her, you deserve what you get. And
Do you
they're
think
the worst
there's
tribe of
anything
all time.
maybe if they're thinking like, hey, when we get to the merge, like Roxroy is gonna, be barking orders. He's gonna, not get along with everybody. It's gonna be a problem for us. Tori, she'll be a shield. Like maybe she'll get picked off before we do. I guess that's sort of the same thing that maybe you would look at Roxroy like that.
Yeah, I think it's the reverse actually, right? Because Tori's going to get a second bite at the apple with new people. Like obviously, like people don't like her on this tribe, but she gets a second chance with everybody else. She will scheme, she will finagle, she will flip. She's already done it in a tribe of 6. She will do it in a tribe of 10 for sure. And Roxroy is loyal to the soil, and people will look at him as a shield because he's annoying. So if they decide not to work with you, there's that. So I think they really need to like Sherry and Shamar it, honestly.
The only thing from my past experience is that I felt very much like Romeo in this episode with working with Roger, where Roger, would like be telling me to do stuff and I would do it and I would act like I like doing it, or like I wouldn't give him a problem. But like, I was like, oh, I can't wait to get rid of this guy. I just wonder if maybe Romeo and potentially Drea could feel like, hey, I'm not going to get to play my game the way I want to if Roxroy is there, because he's like so domineering about, even on this last vote, they wanted to vote out Saw at the end, and Roxroy's like, no, stick to the plan. We're not that's crazy. Why would we do that? Whereas Tori, who is less trustworthy, is more agreeable to like, oh, I'll write down whatever you tell me, and might make them feel like, okay, I am on your plan, as opposed to, hey, Roxroy, my way or the highway.
This is why you get paid the big bucks to do this, and you can make 7 episodes out of an hour of television, because this is a terrible take, Rob. But you're working through it and you're convincing me that maybe you have something here. You got nothing. You got nothing.
Yeah.
Not safe. This is, I mean, Roxroy ends up voting with Swathi, right? He doesn't dig his heels in and not allow, not voting with, voting for. And he doesn't dig his heels in and like not allow them to maneuver the way they want to maneuver.
Yeah.
Tori's dangerous and they know it. And Roxroy maybe is annoying around camp, but he will be a soldier in the merge tribe.
Yeah, it's a little edit read too, just because I feel like that we've gotten this story from from Zach in this season, and then again it came up from Romeo about how Roxroy is so bossy, and the idea of Roxroy being bossy in this episode, I feel like didn't have anything to do with Swathi versus Tori. So I'm just wondering if we're being told a bigger story about Roxroy.
Agreed, totally. Even in the challenge, like I said, like it doesn't make sense because it hasn't paid off. I totally agree with you. I'm just saying there is no reason, there is no good strategic reason for Drea and Romeo, in my opinion, for Drea and Romeo to flip on Roxroy in favor of Tori. If they do it,
yeah,
they deserve what they get. They deserve to get screwed by Tori.
Could it change if Tori does indeed find that third Beware advantage? On this Wednesday night, Marianne says the bunny in the mailbox. Mike says soccer makes him cry. And, Tori says her meet the parents line. And then all of a sudden, Tori has an idol. Okay. Sorry, Roxroy.
God, what a terrible twist of fate that would be for the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could change. Sure.
It could change. Ali, let's
What a
talk
way
some
to
social
close
media.
out.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It is interesting. And I love being like, Rob, the emperor has no clothes. He's naked. And you're like, well, what about this? And I'm like, damn it, you're right. All right.
Mm-hmm.
What's Mike's? So people have no idea why I'm reading this probably. I read the social media on the challenge or hop up. And for some reason, unbeknownst to me, people enjoy it. So now I do it here.
I've tried to avoid looking at it also.
Me too. No, I'm just kidding. I did look at it. I'm like, we're all here with fresh eyes. What's Mike's thing about Matthew McConaughey? Can you explain that to me?
This is news to me.
All right. Well, not gonna lie. NGL, Mike says, forget food and shelter. I'll be happy with a shout out from @McConaughey, 15 exclamation points, #Survivor.
Holy crap, I am.
How much engagement do you think this tweet had at oh God, Sam, you use your military time? Forget it. I don't care. April 1st.
I can't imagine that Sam Moore is on military time. I think it must be a Twitter thing.
At 13:31, April 1st, how much engagement do you think that? Oh no, that might be when he tweeted it. I don't know.
Was this an April Fool's joke, Ali? Was Mike either the victim or the perpetrator of an April Fool's joke?
Oh, I thought you meant the military time. Was that an April Fool's joke?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. But I don't think that we've ever heard that Matthew McConaughey is a big Survivor fan. I feel like that would be well known.
I could see it though. You know who is a big Survivor fan?
Who?
This is there are these two YouTube guys that I've become obsessed with who are very famous on YouTube. They do a show called Good Mythical Morning. And one of the hosts, Link Neal, is like a huge Survivor fan. He was watching with in the pandemic. And it's always funny when I'm watching like non-Survivor media and then somebody mentions Survivor and I'm like,
It exists. It's real.
But yeah, you guys should connect. Okay. Anyway, Lydia.
So Mike Turner was he wants a shout out from Matthew McConaughey.
Unless @McConaughey is somebody else, but I have a feeling.
Has Matthew McConaughey recently tweeted about Survivor?
I don't know, honestly, but now I'm looking at this and like, I didn't even know Matthew McConaughey was on Twitter.
Okay. All right. So Matthew McConaughey, official Twitter page of Matthew McConaughey and the Just Keep Living organization. I don't know if he.
Oh, yes.
He did tweet about Survivor.
No. And I'm on a heavy.com article called Celebrity Fans of Survivor, updated December 28th, 2020. And Matthew McConaughey, in a recent interview, so recent at the time, on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Academy Award-winning actor Matthew McConaughey dropped a random tidbit about him and his wife. Lately, they've been, quote, checking out Survivor, which is a show we're catching up on that we never saw when it came out. What an incredible quote. We're checking out Survivor, which is a show we've never seen.
Yeah.
That's what checking something out is.
Now, what would it be like for Mike if he found out that, Matthew McConaughey was watching the season, but actually was not a Mike fan?
Oh, well, would you rather be hated by Matthew McConaughey or are you comfortable with the relationship you already have with him?
Yeah, wouldn't want to be hated by Matthew McConaughey. Could you imagine, like, if there was a famous figure of the show and then they didn't like you? I guess that would be like me with Mike White.
Well, Rob, do you think there's a world where Matthew McConaughey knows who you are? Has he watched your season? Is he? It's a show which we're catching up on. You think he went back from the beginning?
Is watching? I can't get my kids to watch Survivor the Amazon. You think Matthew McConaughey is watching?
Really? They don't understand. Do they understand it's you? Like what?
I'm just trying to keep Dominic caught up with this season, and I was flipping through the seasons, and I went back to season 6 to see if if I was like the picture on any of the thumbnails on Survivor the Amazon. And I'm the thumbnail for one which happens to be the challenge where I am doing like holding the blowgun. It's not a picture of me that I would say like I would want people to go look at.
Well, that's about to be my next background.
Me holding like a giant like blowgun like up to my mouth, like, and I said,
hold on, what is it again, Rob?
It's survive the Amazon. I think it's episode 10.
No, can I see the impersonation again?
What are you screenshot me? Yeah, go back and watch the video. Put your
I'm like
phone
an
down.
8-year-old woman. I'm holding my phone up to the
Yeah. Brian Scally was gonna disavow you as a friend for what you're attempting to do this. Holding your iPhone to a monitor. But I said, hey, Anthony, this episode looks good, right? And he's like, no, it doesn't.
I feel like he likes violence, doesn't he? Like the blow. I feel like he would like that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if he knew if he even recognized it was me. Yeah, but we did not want to watch a video on Paramount Plus where his dad was the thumbnail.
If you haven't checked out the Cesterninos recapping Full House and Fuller House, the family tribute to Fuller House, it's chef's kiss.
Thank you very much.
Anthony says, "Have mercy." I almost fell out of my chair.
Yeah.
All right, back to the social media.
Yes.
Lydia Chlamydia says, "Poem by me. Why is under ass so hot, but butt cracks are so not?" Rob, that begs the obvious question. Are you aware of the temperature of your butt?
Am I aware of the temperature of my butt?
Thanks, Sam, for pulling this one. We appreciate it.
Okay. All right. So how did we jump to butt temperature?
Well, Lydia's really been promoting her quote hashtag BFJA, which I believe stands for Big Fat Juicy Ass.
Yes.
And the next tweet, she posted a picture where her BFJA is sticking out and says, "Shit like this still astonishes me." Laugh, cry, or just cry emoji. And then she says, "I'm normalizing doing bad at challenges." Red heart emoji. "My fat ass weighed me down." Broken heart emoji. "Not resting tonight." LMFAO. And it's a picture, actually a great picture of her jumping to reach the bag. It looks like maybe she's going to get it, but we all know how that turned out.
Yeah. Right. But the poem really is thought-provoking.
Is it? Did you want your thought to be provoked in that direction? We could keep talking about it if you're...
I mean, do people look at underbutt differently than butt crack?
I think you have to look at those as two different things. One is leg, right? One is mostly leg. The other is more intimate. One is
yeah. I'm not sure. Like, boy, this is a very interesting question. I think it's more the eye of the beholder, or I think that it might be the subject. I feel like that maybe that the butt crack is more synonymous with maybe people that like you are not trying to display a butt crack.
Okay. Someone timestamped this for the best of the year, because I obviously thought she was talking about temperature.
What do you mean? Butt crack means temperature.
No. When she said, "Why is under ass so hot, but butt crack is so not?"
Yes. Why is it so literally hot?
She was saying that her butt crack was cool and temperate, but she got like under ass sweat.
Is there a difference? I guess that's probably a scientific experiment.
So I'll go back. So that I'll reframe my question. I mean, my response is: under ass hot? I think that's what you were saying.
I'm not. I feel like I'm not supposed to talk about this stuff on podcasts, so I think I'll have to pass. Yeah.
You're like, it's so thought provoking, and I was like, "What's the internal temperature of your butt crack? Why is that thought provoking?"
Boy, I mean, I think that's probably like inside the canyon. I think it's probably warmer than anywhere around the perimeter.
Can you please delete this? Oh my God. I guess I could have just not admitted that, but I had to. All right. I'm skipping the tweet from a former Survivor player talking about how much more difficult and better it was in their season. Swathi said, all quote, "Oh, this is fascinating to me. All caps. Guys, I made Boston Rob trend on Twitter. Boston Rob, you're my number one. Hashtag Boston Rob. Hashtag Survivor 42. Hashtag Survivor.
Okay.
Didn't she mean Rob C?
She did, but I didn't trend, Ali. So yes, Swathi, I don't know of that. It's a little I kind of wanted to get to the bottom of that in the exit interview. I didn't really want to bring it up about I felt like that wasn't like really my style. I felt like to be like, but what about me? Were you talking about me? But I did ask her, has Boston Rob reached out to you, Swathi? She said that he has not. But if Swathi did make Boston Rob trend, it was only because of the people that were saying, hey, Boston Rob was not if people are fact checking something that you got wrong, did you make that person trend?
I think yes, but you shouldn't be proud of it. Right. But I do like the reframing from Swathi, just getting the facts wrong about Boston Rob and saying she was talking about wrong facts about you.
Yes.
Is also a nice reframing from Swathi.
So if I tweet out, I loved Matthew McConaughey in Jurassic Park, and then I just get ratioed to hell of people saying Matthew McConaughey wasn't in Jurassic Park, you idiot. And then Matthew McConaughey starts trending.
There's only one way to find out.
Can I reach out? Can I reach out to Matthew McConaughey and get my shout out from Matthew McConaughey when he says hey?
Well, you're just like Swathi mixed up two Robs. You're mixing up two tweets because she didn't ask for a shout out from from Boston Rob. She didn't even tag him. She just tweeted this clean. So I don't know. At what point when you were watching her closing remarks did you think she was talking about you, or did you only think that when?
No, I only thought that I was ready to go on the know-it-alls and say Steven, you don't think she was talking about me, right? I mean, I was out fourth on the All-Stars, but is that possible? But I mean, that doesn't really make a ton of sense in terms of her story. If her closing words, which I can play them again, if anybody happened to miss them. Here was Swathi's final words.
Boston Rob was fourth out his first season, so who knows? Maybe you'll see me winning a season of All-Stars in the future.
I mean, if her parting words were hey, fourth out's not so bad. I mean, a lot of great Survivor players have been fourth out of a season. Look at the great Rob C. That would, but her story was, hey, Boston Rob got voted out fourth the first time he played, and he came back and won an All-Star season. So maybe that's what will happen to me.
Is she predicting the future? Is the great Rob C going to be fourth out on All-Stars and come back to win an All-Star season?
Yeah, I mean, that would be wild if that was the case. But again, in fairness to Swathi, okay, as was pointed out on Twitter, I believe she was born during Survivor Marquesas. And I think that maybe literally on the night of the fourth episode of Survivor Marquesas. So perhaps the legend has gotten a little, I knew what was going on television, the night I was born on black and white TV.
I want to be clear. No one cares less about getting facts right about this show from decades ago than I do. Yes. No member of this community could be more sympathetic to Swathi than myself. So I am not reading her. I am more interested in her ability to have a premonition here to predict the future. And maybe we'll see on an All-Star season, which selfishly, I know you had trouble making it about you on the interview. I never have trouble making it about me. When my friends have gone back and watched Survivor seasons, they ask me for recommendations. I'm like, you gotta watch season 6. Not only because I think it holds up, I've watched it recently, I think it's great, but then it seems cooler to them that I do this. So I'm pimping your podcast, your show out.
I thought you were going to say watch season 30 because you can see me in the audience at the finale.
I'm like a tiny speck. That's not really about me. It's like then when I hold the camera phone up to the screen and I take a picture of you, I send it to them. I'm like, look at this guy. And me. Look at us. Who would have thought? Look at
us. Look at us.
All right. Marianne says, I want Indian, but my mom wants American. I want takeout. She wants to dine in. These feel like lyrics to a song, but unfortunately, it's my dinner conundrum. Next tweet. We went to Applebee's.
Oh.
There you
Yes,
go.
okay.
You wanted a twist?
I mean, look, for anybody that's looking for, Indian food and American food, probably no better spot to hit than Applebee's.
I love Applebee's.
It's a popular destination for survivors to go to.
The great Gabby Pascuzzi says, everyone on the Blue Tribe has, quote, I am the main character and the headline is me, energy, for my tears are pooling below me, emojis, except Romeo, LOL, #survivor. And I think because of her PhD program, this is science. This is a diagnosis. Everybody has main character energy. I agree, frankly.
Yeah. Well, how do you know if somebody has main character energy versus wacky sidekick energy, supporting actor energy?
I mean, it's those in glass main character energy shouldn't throw stones. I'm not really one to weigh in on this.
Because Ika, I mean, is it like, was that the cast of Friends that there was 6 main characters?
I mean, I think that's why the tribe is so messy, right? Like they're some of the more strategically minded players of the season, and in that way they're overplaying right now. I think boredom is really the enemy here.
Yeah. I will say that I could see an argument for Romeo and Drea having main character energy, but Tori and Roxroy are supporting characters. This is not Roxroy's story.
I think she has made.
Yeah, I
so
guess
it's not so much whether or not it's your story. It's like
I'm watching
how you view the world.
Yes, got it.
Like Tori views the world of like, I thought I would come on and nobody would be going for me and I'd be able to play under the radar. And I can't believe like I'm the center of all of the votes.
Yes.
Like you don't want to be the center of the votes.
But Ali, does every single person, as Stephen Fishback, to paraphrase what he once said, not paraphrase podcast. Isn't everybody having the main character energy of their own story?
Everyone's the hero of their own story. Yeah, but
Right.
the best survivor player can see outside and see other people's narratives. I think Tori can't do that.
Like everybody's own reality is Lexi's play.
Yeah, I think Roxroy and Tori have more trouble with that than Romeo does. I agree with Gabby that like Romeo really is the one who can kind of see how the pieces fit together.
Yeah, still waiting for my Notes app apology from Gabby of losing the bet on how many shots in the dark we played in the season.
You should follow up on that. You're owed.
I'll send her a text.
Humble brag.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That was it. So yeah. So anything else that caught your eye this week for Survivor?
I mean, I think this is a really good season so far. One thing with expectations,
I think it's a great season so far.
Yeah, Brian had tweeted. I saw one tweet before I watched this episode that he didn't love this episode. And so I was like, perfect. Love coming on with Rob when there's nothing to talk about and we'll just like talk mess. It'll be fun. And then I watched this episode. I was like, this was a good episode. Like maybe for people who the Tory potato thing was a problem before, didn't enjoy it as much as I did. But I think this season's been hit after hit for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Ali, this was a great podcast.
I had fun. Yeah.
I could say unequivocally, you came in hot.
Like a buck back.
We talked about a lot of fun stuff, some interesting new takes.
If Daniel breaks, see, it's what do you say with Akiva and RHAP? It's like high ceiling, low floor.
It could be a lot of variance. Yeah.
What does it mean when it's like, it's no downside to me, but it's a huge upside if it works?
So I think this might be the rare high ceiling, high floor. It's not going to be that bad no matter what. And
so high ceiling, high floor. If Daniel breaks that hourglass, I'm a hero. And if he doesn't, nobody's ever going to remember I did this podcast.
Yeah. So, all right. That was great. Ali, where can people hear more about what you're doing?
So great question. You can follow me at Lash Tweets. You can DM me for a link to the 32 Fans Patreon podcast because I'm just giving that out for free. If you want to listen to the mid bracket.
Yes, wait, you're giving out the link for people to listen free to Patreon episodes of 32 Fans.
Yeah, drop the link, cowards. Drop it in the main feed. Like, what are we doing here? And speaking of which, my brother, Rob Lasher,
yes,
was on is doing a Jersey bracket series. He has some deep expertise, much to the chagrin of his wife. He has some deep Jersey expertise. And I
feel very embarrassed to say that I only recently found out that your brother's name is Rob.
Oh, I was going to say remember. Why would you remember this? But one time I said to my mom, like, she always says, which Rob? I'm like, I'm doing a podcast with Rob. Oh, Rob. I'm like, why would I be doing a podcast with my brother right now? But she thought I was talking about my brother. She did like a Rob's sister Nina.
Yeah.
And she's like, you're Rob's sister and your name's not Nina. I'm confused. And I was like, all right, we're done here. But yeah, no, I have a Rob. And he was on doing a great NBA bracket, Jersey bracket, and they're going to be doing NFL and MLB and NHL. So check that out. It's great. And Brian and I are awaiting announcements,
more challenge
awaiting
news.
further news. But we'll be back. You could check us out at robhasawebsite.com/challenge iTunes, which is a hilarious link that we do not want changed unless you want to change it. But it's pretty funny to plug it like that. You should subscribe so you don't miss anything when it drops. And if you want to listen to occasionally when Akiva has time and gets around to it, you could listen to me and Akiva talk about New Girl on New Girl Old Guy at anchor.fm/New Girl Old Guy. And I think that's it.
Okay. Well, Ali, thank you for bringing so much to the table here today. Also, going through all of the Survivor social media.
Thanks to Sam who sent it to me because I did not actually go through it, to be clear.
Yes, but you presented it.
I presented it with some deep misunderstanding of the meaning of some of the tweets.
No, it was a highlight for sure. And of course, I'll be back with Matt Scott on Survivor Academy.
Love Matt Scott.
Okay. And of course, host of Pod Friends. Also, big weekend for Matt Scott as WrestleMania is this weekend also. So I'll be catching him in between nights of WrestleMania when we get together on Sunday. For that, you can check that out at robinswebsite.com/patron for the Robins Podcast Patron podcast feed. It's a great time to become a patron here at the start of a brand new month with a great season of Survivor continuing all April long. All right.
I'm not giving that link out for free. Don't worry.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.